Hey, everybody, just want to let you know, in case you're not aware, about the Central Indiana Scoreboard show every weekday at 1 o'clock. We talk about everything from high schools to the Pacers, Colts, IU, Purdue, Fever, IndyCar, everything like that, with a lot of focus on high school and college sports in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. Again, every weekday at 1 o'clock. What you're listening to now is podcast number 255.1, our Grant 4 recap with Grant Shouse. Grant called the baseball games for the Action Sports Network, and he recaps that, and we also talk about the Grant 4 softball tournament and the Grant 4 track and field meets.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, sports fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. I have Grant Shouse, who called the games for the Action Sports Network on the baseball side. Before we get to Grant, just want to let everybody know 2 championships on the weekend for Oak Hill. They were the champions of the baseball tournament that Grant called, and the girls track champions, and 2 championships for Mississinawa. They dominated the softball championship, surprisingly. Not surprising at all that they won, Grant, but surprising how they dominated and scored more than 20 runs on the day. And for the Mississinawa boys track team, who had a big win in the Grant 4. So, Grant, tell me about the baseball tournament, and it sounded like it was a really good one, especially the championship game.
It was actually really entertaining, which I was, I wouldn't say surprised, but I was pleased with. It was competitive. All 3 games were competitive. In the very first game, Oak Hill's playing Mississinawa. It's a 9 a.m. first pitch. Oak Hill scores 4 runs in the top of the first inning, take a 4-0 lead, give them a nice cushion. Mississinawa came back and scored 2 runs, make it 4-2, and then Oak Hill ended up kind of pushing it open. They scored 3 runs in the 6th, I think 1 run in the 7th, if I remember right, and they ended up winning 8-3. So good win for them. The second game is the one I was real interested in.
Yeah, a rematch of the game you and I did together about a week ago that was dominated by Eastbrook.
Yeah, and this was a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel, man. This is actually a kind of a weird game because Eastbrook threw Kyler Hackman, who pitched a really good game. Madison-Grant, of course, threw who's probably their ace, Xavier Yagi. And Hackman had trouble finding the strike zone a few times. He actually had trouble finding the strike zone enough that he walked in a run to make it 1-0. He had a no-hitter going through 6 innings. He had not allowed a hit, and yet Madison-Grant was up 1-0.
Wow.
On the other hand, Eastbrook had an infield hit from Carter Daugherty. A ground ball, kind of a slow roller over to third base, and Daugherty is quick enough to beat the throw out. And that was Eastbrook's only hit of the game. They did not record another hit the entire game. That was in the first inning. Xavier Yagi pitched a shutout. No, not a shutout. Yeah, he did. He pitched a shutout, a one-hitter. Kyler Hackman pitched a one-hitter. Just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Madison-Grant won 1-0 on 1 run and 1 hit. Eastbrook 0 runs on 1 hit. There were combined 2 hits between the 2 teams in that game. That's probably how the game.
And those are two really good offenses, Grant.
Yeah, it just wasn't their day.
Yeah, it was the pitcher's day.
Yeah. So the game's over, and they come on, they make an announcement, hey, we're going to start this game in exactly 1 hour. It's about 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh, okay, I have time to go home and maybe change. It was cold. I was wearing shorts, put on a pair of sweatpants. So I got time to get back. So I come home. I get back there, And as I'm walking up, the game is starting, and it was like 2:40. Well, I thought we were waiting an hour. No one told me. So I got back there late, and I got us on the air real quick, and
we're underway.
We're underway right then and there. I had actually gotten the Oak Hill lineup in the first game. Coach Edwards brought up the lineup, so I was able to fill it in during the game prior. So I had that done, which was nice. I had to fill in Madison-Grant pretty quick, and then we started.
Well, Grant, you didn't even probably need to show up until probably the 6th inning anyway. That's when all the action happened.
So Oak Hill has a 7-run top half of the 6th. They batted around in the inning. It started off, Cam Aguilar had a leadoff base hit. Harrison York drew a walk. Aiden Pierce grounded out. Turner Boswell had a base hit. Ryan Lawson had an infield hit. Dylan Archer scored. Noah Thompson was hit by a pitch. R.J. Schugert comes into pinch hit. He has a sac fly, which brought in a run. Emmett Dorothy had a Emmett Dorothy walked. Cam Aguilar had another base hit. Harrison York then walked again. And Aiden Pierce lined out to Luke Gilman, the starting pitcher for Madison-Grant. So a good inning for Oak Hill. Actually, the play of the game, the play of the day really did not come from the champion, Oak Hill. It came from Madison-Grant in the championship game. Let's set the scenario here. It was a triple play. Unbelievable triple play here. Harrison York has a runner on third. Emmett Dorothy's on third, or the courtesy runner for Emmett Dorothy was on third. Harrison York lays down a bunt. The bunt is in the air, kind of. It doesn't go high in the air, but it's kind of a line drive bunt, and Luke Gilman snags it. Well, the runner at third still has to tag. The runner at third is anticipating the bunt getting laid down in a place where he's already halfway home where he can score to beat the throw. But since the bunt went in the air, the pitcher caught it. The guy running from third still has to tag. So they throw the guy out at third. There's a double play. Then the guy who was on second base is trying to run to third. He doesn't realize it in time, and they throw it to second base for the force out. So there's a triple play to end an inning that stopped Oak Hill from scoring a run in the third. Just
Wow.
incredible. One of probably the most incredible play of the day, in my opinion. Maybe the most incredible play I've seen all season. It was a 1-5-4 triple play.
Wow. You don't see those often.
No,
Especially
you
don't see
don't.
them often in high school baseball.
It's a rarity. And so especially, to have a game where there were 2 combined hits between the 2 teams and then a triple play later on, it was just kind of a weird day out there.
Well, congratulations to Oak Hill. They're first since 2022. And, of course, as we know, the Grant 4 is a big deal in every sport.
Oh, yeah. Happy for them. That's their 9th in program history, if I remember correctly. Their 9th in program history. And that's the thing is they're going to, I believe, play in another tournament later on in the year. They usually play in the the Miami County tournament later on in the year over at Peru. Yeah, they're going to play in that Miami County tournament later on. Coming up here on Saturday, May 17th. So in 2 weeks, they'll have an opportunity to win another championship, which is such a cool thing.
Yeah, I used to love it when Borden would win the Washington County Championship and they were in Clark County. I always thought, hey, I guess that's what you get for inviting them, right?
Oh, yeah. And, of course, people who are unfamiliar, Miami County tournament is, for baseball at least. Basketball, it's different. Basketball, the 4th team in there is Caston.
Right.
Usually it's Caston. For baseball, it's Oak Hill, Maconaquah, Peru, and North Miami. It's always at Peru. It never rotates. I remember one year it rained really bad where they actually moved it to Oak Hill because Oak Hill has the facilities and the nice turf field and all that kind of stuff. And it's a cool tournament, and they have an opportunity to go win another championship. It's what they do. It's what those kids are built to do. And to beat a solid Madison-Grant team the way they did, scoring all those runs in the sixth inning, and then scoring an additional run to even cushion that lead more in the seventh, and win their ninth Grant 4 championship in school history. Pretty cool stuff.
Really dramatic day on the softball field over there too, Grant. Mississinawa started their day by going down 5-0 in the top of the first inning, and then digging out of that hole. It was 6-5 going into the bottom of the fifth, and then Mississinawa scored 7 runs in the final 2 innings to beat Madison-Grant 12-7. Then in the championship, they just dominated Eastbrook. Brooklyn Nash at the top of the order, 4 for 5. That's what she does. And I think we have confirmation that Mississinawa is really, really good.
And not to mention, in that second semifinal game, I went over there and checked the score. Oak Hill was up 4-0 in the fifth inning and ended up losing 5-4.
The East.
So, yeah, just those are heartbreakers, man. Killers.
Man, softball's so much fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And
the pace is really fun, man.
It really is. Just let everybody know we will have the tournament draw on the Central Indiana Scoreboard show at 1 o'clock on Monday, but we will go further into depth. I don't know when yet because I don't know when Michelle will be available, but she and I will be breaking down the baseball and softball brackets sometime this week. Again, it's a long time until the tournament, so we won't feel as much in a hurry as we do with the other sports, but
Absolutely.
But we will be doing that. We will be breaking down the brackets and what the draw means on Sunday night. Of course, for most of you listening, that's tonight. Because you mentioned it, Grant, will be released early on Sunday morning.
Awesome.
All right, let's talk a little track. The Grant 4 was also held in track and field. The boys' race was very competitive. Mississinawa winning 84-73 over Oak Hill. Eastbrook with 51. Madison-Grant 36. And the hero of the day in the boys' race was Kyler North of Mississinawa. The junior won the 800, the 1600, and the 3200, and he was a big reason why they won. Also, Dalen Davis, the junior,
Hey,
won.
Greg, I hate to interject here, but I want to ask you a quick question. Could that young man from Mississinawa give you a run for your money back in the day at Elwood and Frankton?
In the 800, he would have beaten me. The 100 meters, 200 meters, probably not. Just being
I
honest.
love it.
Just being honest.
I love it.
For those who don't know, I was ACIC champion in the 200-meter dash. But he would have beaten me in all those events. I was not a distance runner.
All right.
Also, for Mississinawa, Dalen Davis had a big day. He won the high jump and was one of the top sprinters. And William Kausper, whose sister was on the softball team and a big factor, won the shot put, was second in the discus. Rosen White was first in the discus, second in the shot put. Of course, he is from Madison-Grant. In the girls' race, it was all Oak Hill. Like we talked about when we previewed a little bit on the weekend preview, 116 points for Oak Hill, 49 for Eastbrook, 45.5 for Madison-Grant, 32.5 for Mississinawa. Eastbrook won pretty much every event when the score is like that. And Ellie Campbell is an absolute star. She won the 100, the 200, and the long jump by about 25 feet, it seemed, and an incredible long jump. If she jumps like that, she's going to be a state finalist for sure.
Yeah, it does not surprise me with her because she is a tremendous athlete for Coach Brunner. Just one of those that always seems like Oak Hill's got one every year. A girl like her or a guy like her that just is an incredible stat stuffer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, we said it the other day on our weekend preview. If anyone listened to that weekend preview, we said taxes than Oak Hill track and field. So
That's
that's
right.
just another prime example of the dominance Coach Brunner has built there. And she's 100% going to be a state finalist, if maybe not close to being a state champion at some point.
Right.
Would not surprise me.
18 feet, 5 inches. I'm sorry, 18 feet, a half inch will get her a very high finish in the state finals.
Yep, no
By the way,
question.
the second place jumper, Rylan Stenger, one of the best athletes in the conference from Madison-Grant, almost, 2 feet and an inch further than her. So that tells you everything you need to know about how far
Yeah.
she jumped. And I should also mention some other winners for Oak Hill. By the way, won all three relays. Lexi Newber won both hurdles events. Quinn Bruner, a familiar name, won the 800. Bree Daly won the 400. So they pretty much won every event of the night. Mia Bustos of Eastbrook won the shot put. Madison Grant's Abby Winchester, who's in my class, um, won the pole vault, 7 feet 9 inches, just ahead of Abby Sneed, a state finals diver for Oak Hill. And Rylan Stenger, who I mentioned is one of the best athletes in the conference, did beat Ellie Campbell in the high jump. She cleared 5 feet. Ellie Campbell and Bree Daly, who's a basketball star in the making, they both cleared 4 feet 10 inches. So big week for the Grant Four. We got the golf tournament coming up pretty soon. But otherwise, the Grant Four is done for the year. Have you done the total? Who won the most?
Good question. I'd have to tally that up.
Speaking of which, Grant, the all of these teams are going to see each other again on Friday in the CIC track meet, and I will be there, and we will have a special report from the CIC track meet. One of my favorite events of the year.
Where's that going to be?
That's at Mississinawa this year. Thanks so much to Grant for recapping the Grant 4 for us. And thank you so much, producer Susie, for producing. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you'd like to help us grow and thrive, please share these podcasts with your friends and family. Spreading these podcasts around spreads the word around that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here and here to stay. We really appreciate you doing that for us. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. Thanks again, Susie.
You're welcome.
You're the best producer ever.
It's true, I am.
And the humblest
That's right. Of all time.
of all time. And I love Susie.